Welcome, everyone. We have a really wonderful webinar put together for you guys tonight, Elevate Office Efficiency. And we're going to talk all about how to integrate ALTIUS into your practice. We're going to go over some really great case studies. And today I have with me, co-speaking, Janice Nilsson from Neuro-Vision Associates of North Texas.
Thank you for having me.
And she handles the neurorehabilitation practice coordinator and the marketing and business development. So you're doing a lot over there at the office.
Yes, I am. Yes, it's been great.
So again, we're going to just give a quick introduction to ALTIUS and the light architecture and the technology that goes into the product. And then we're going to go straight into candidates and fitting. And Janice is just going to talk about their experience of integrating it into their office, which tints to use. And then we're going to go through some really exciting case studies. Their office was a part of the beta test that we recently did, studying ALTIUS for migraines and light sensitivity. So we have some really interesting stuff for you guys today. Let's get started. So what is ALTIUS? ALTIUS are precision engineered single-use tinted contact lenses designed to filter 100% of UV light and over 99% of blue light. Each tint is carefully engineered based on over 20 to 25 years of visual science and research to transmit only those portions of the visible spectrum critical for visual comfort and clarity and performance. And by combining those technologies, we are the only FDA-cleared contact lens that enhances visual clarity and contrast when compared to the unaided eye. Now we'll kind of break that down. So the thing that I like to point out on this slide is that colors with shorter wavelengths like blue and violet have higher frequencies, and frequency translates into energy. So the shorter wavelengths are higher energy wavelengths, and they're harder for our rods and cones to perceive. So the rods and cones have peak sensitivity to the wavelength of green. And even just looking at this slide, our eyes are immediately drawn to that green yellow line in the center, where red and violet seem slightly blurred due to chromatic aberrations caused in the corneal material. So here's an example of chromatic aberrations, or that fringing, that color distortion that happens in those colors in the periphery. And our brain is canceling this out all the time. So as we're looking around in different colors and different spectral light, our brain is having to edit those images as they're sent through the brain. And this works really well until it doesn't, when maybe you're having some ocular conditions that are hindering your visual processes. So ALTIUS, with our tint architecture and by removing some of these high frequency wavelengths, we are able to reduce chromatic aberration by 53%. And that is reducing it from a 2.3 disparity from red to violet down to a diopter. This does a couple of things. It reduces visual noise, which are TBI and visual snow patients and some of the post-concussion migraine sufferers really appreciate. But for our athletes, it is going to give you high definition vision. So by sending you almost a pre-edited image, you're able to make decisions and motor responses faster. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. So visual noise hinders our ability to concentrate, to learn. It makes it harder to communicate. It contributes to fatigue, and it may trigger or worsen migraines. Here is our spectral curves for our two tints. We have the amber, which is going to be 50% visible light transmission, and then we have the gray-green, which only allows 38%. We also block wavelengths at the peak sensitivity for intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. So these ganglion cells are specific to linked to pupillary response. So it's telling your body how much light is present in the room so that it can constrict or dilate your pupil. But we're also finding that it's linked to mood, lymphatic drainage, and other systems of the body. It's processed in a more central portion of the brain versus the visual cortex. These graphs are actually pulled from a really great paper. You're welcome to contact me. I'll have my contact information if you'd like to see the full article, but it's all about ALTIUS in regards to patients with photosensitivity and just what blocking these wavelengths at this peak sensitivity is doing for these patients. And this is compared to a gray-green lens and an FO41 lens. And the green is still letting in over 60 or about 60%. And the FO41 is still letting in, over 30%. Or sorry, it's only blocking about 30% at that peak sensitivity. And the gray is only blocking 60%. So to recap, we are the industry leader by blocking both 100% of UV light as well as over 99% of blue light. Our amber and gray-green tints transmit either 50 or 38% visible light transmission. We're able to reduce that chromatic aberration by 53%. And first and foremost, we have 360-degree tint immersion. So even if you were to take the same technology and put it in a spectacle lens with a vertex distance away from the eye, you're going to get peripheral light leakage, bleed, and you're not going to have the same visual quality and comfort when you have that full immersion of color. And that's a big trigger also for these patients with neurological injury, those peripheral light waves, flashing light, that can be a huge trigger for them. It's not enough just to have a sunglass covering central vision. So we are in a daily disposable material, an 8/7 base curve, 14/2 diameter, and our power ranges start at plano, they skip a quarter, and then they go minus 50 up to -6 and quarter stacks. And keep in mind that masking effect is going to mask about a diopter of something. We're doing further study on it, and I'm excited to release something in the next 3 to 6 months, so stand by. But we know it's gonna mask about a diopter of astigmatism. I've heard anecdotally that it can mask a little bit of plus, under a diopter, or even if you have a patient who's a -7, who's a little out of range, that they can still get a crisp 20/25, even if they are above a -6. So you kind of have a diopter to play with. And again, we'll be releasing some exciting data. There's an IRB study that is in process. Now for the exciting part, to learn more about Neuro-Vision Associates of North Texas. So I'll let you take it from here,
Thank you,
Janice.
Rachel. So I do work with Dr. Shavosky, Neuro-Vision Associates of North Texas in Plano, Texas. So we see all types of patients, everything from family wellness and care to traumatic brain injury, to strokes, visual snow syndrome, concussions, behavioral optometry. Also, we do myopia management, sports vision, evaluation of the dry eyes. So with that being said, we'll move to our next slide. So right now, who we're fitting with ALTIUS lenses is our performance vision for sports. Some of our athletes, whether it's children, that are able to handle contacts all the way up to adults, but also our migraine patients that are coming in, and visual snow patients, also patients with light sensitivity.
So I can jump in here, just speaking in a little bit about performance vision, because this is the use and application that this technology was developed for, and we're just beginning to scratch the surface about all the visual conditions with light sensitivity that's benefiting from this product. But to just really simplify, what is performance vision? What does it look like in an office? The general principle is that, again, we want to get visual information to the brain faster so that it can be processed into a motor response. So that better visual clarity, the better tracking, faster pupillary response to varying light conditions, all of these things come together to giving these athletes superior vision and giving them an edge. And that's not even just the bottom line, that there's some sports that you can't wear a sunglass, and if you are blocking glare and your opponent has no sun protection, you're just going to have an advantage right there. So another thing to note is a soft contact lens does provide a 5 times greater barrier against corneal abrasion than if you just had a naked eye. So for someone who wouldn't be wearing any kind of protection, maybe an emmetrope, this is actually going to protect them from any minor scratches, corneal abrasions, as well as enhancing clarity, quickness, and comfort for these patients. A quick breakdown of, this is the only portion that we're going to talk about performance. So I just wanted to do a quick overview, and then we'll be really spending the rest of the time on medical application. But when you're breaking down which tint to use for what sport, just think anything with a ball, you're going to reach for the amber. that is specific to enhancing visual tracking. And that means that you can see a ball against a background faster and more efficiently than if you were unaided. So anything with a ball, you're going to pull that amber. And then the gray-green has primarily been used for golf, for water sports. And if you have a sport that crosses over, such as water polo, what we found is goalies tend to go for the amber because, again, they're really trying to track that ball. And then it breaks down for the rest of the team, often to have darker pigmented eyes tend to go with the lighter tint, where lighter tinted eyes or lighter colored eyes tend to want that darker gray-green tint for the additional protection. Now we'll talk a little bit about migraines.
So yes, we do see several patients in our office daily, almost weekly, monthly, with migraines. So they'll come in, and it's a neurological condition that impacts millions globally. So you can read right here, it's one of the major sensitivities with the World Health Organization. Also, there's light sensitivity that comes with migraines. There's also triggers that come with migraines, and the intense light, the flickering, headache triggers. There's just so many triggers out there for patients, men and women, and even children.
Well, I've actually read that photophobia is actually one of the factors in order to get diagnosed with migraines. So, the difference between just a headache or a migraine, there is a factor that light sensitivity is one of the factors. And then again, 1 in 7 people are suffering from this globally, and it is the third leading illness according to the World Health Organization. So visual snow is another condition. And, as I've kind of ventured out and done a lot of these trainings, I found there really isn't a lot of information on visual snow. And maybe you haven't experienced these patients in your office, but you guys have seen a good number of them. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you are treating this condition and the patients that are seeing.
Yeah, so we actually saw our first patient back in 2019, and he was a college athlete playing baseball. He had the onset of snow in his vision, and his parents went to many doctors, neurologists, PCPs, hospitals, and they could never figure it out. Well, his mom did a little research and called us up one day and said, "Hey, do you treat something like visual snow?" We're like, "Yeah, let's bring him in, let's evaluate him." We diagnosed him with a true visual snow syndrome, and then from there, it just kind of took off with the Visual Snow Initiative, and we started doing some case studies. This all kind of started right pre-COVID, and then we had people from all over the world coming into our office. Wow. And also Dr. Sain's office in California. And so over time, we have done several studies, and now we're starting to implement the ALTIUS lenses with these patients to calm their visual noise down. And we've had really good success with these patients.
Yeah, it's been really, like I said, I think that a lot of people with this condition go misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. So as we raise awareness of it industry-wide and how to treatment, that's another thing, is there really wasn't a treatment option for it. People didn't know what was causing it. They didn't know how to improve it. It sounds like, light sensitivity is often associated with it. So that's the best that we could do. So as doctors started calling me and saying, we're using the ALTIUS lenses for visual snow, and we're seeing 80% improvement in symptoms. We were just thrilled, and we're continuing to do further study on this specific patient group as well. And we have some great case studies coming up.
Right. And so some of the neurological conditions that were with photophobia is, of course, TBIs, post-concussional syndromes, migraine, strokes, and ocular conditions with light sensitivity. So how are we using the ALTIUS lenses in our office? We're using to treat migraines, neurological injuries, again, visual snow syndrome, light sensitivity for indoors and outdoors, depending on the color of lens we're fitting that patient with.
When we also I'd say that was the biggest question that I get asked in the field is which color, we had a very clear picture of what color you use for different sports. But we didn't really have a clear picture as to what color to use. And I know you guys really experimented with both colors, but with the gray-green, these migraine, neurological injury, visual snow seems to go either way depending on the patient. And then of course, for the severity of your light sensitivity, you have the option of both lenses. And we'll talk a little bit about patients that potentially are benefiting from both.
Right. And so with our amber lenses, we're using those basically for sports performance for athletes, and also visual snow again. Also computer fatigue syndrome, that kind of goes hand in hand with visual snow, but also migraines. Also light sensitivity for indoors, because I know people are needing relief when they go into the big box stores or shops and things like that. So we're getting really good results on that as well. So what we recently have started doing is integrating the contact lenses into our supply kit. So first we'll have the patient, during their initial exam, also do a contact lens fitting. We'll look at their case history to see if they're a contact lens wearer, which is even better because they already know how to put the lenses in and
No
out.
application or removal training.
ALTIUS. And then once we kind of start them out on a 10-day trial pack, we'll start out depending on their situation, either the amber or the green. And there's some cases I've given a box for each color for the patient to try out. So once we're kind of settled on what color we want, and then they start the vision therapy program with us in our office, we're going to include a 30-day supply pack into their supply kit. And since these are daily lenses, they're going to be used as a PRN or as needed or while doing activities, because this is so important to help, reduce that visual noise and help not so much speed up the process of therapy, but, kind of help them along and show that there is a little relief for the vision issues. And then from there, they can purchase their own packs, 30, 90.
Based on how often they're using them.
Based on how often they're using them.
I like to think of it as you're taking the vision therapy with you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because I've been reading a lot of these articles about green light for migraines, and the study that I read, you had to stay in a room for 2 hours a day with a green light shining in your face. You can't be on your phone. You can't have any screens around. It has to have the lights turned off. And even just 2 hours a day, they were experiencing reduced frequency, severity, and length. But if you can take it with you, then you can live your life as you're recovering.
Your backpack or
right.
It'll travel. And then, when we're giving home activities, they take their home activities when they travel, or, if they got camps and stuff like that, or work, and you just pop in a lens, you're having a migraine covered. That's coming on or anything like that.
Yeah.
So next we're going to talk about a few case studies. So the first one we have is a 56-year-old female from Plano, Texas. Her diagnosis is trigger migraines, stroke, Sjogren's, chronic dry eyes, and presbyopia. As you can see from the list here, what her prescription is, she was able to have a little reduction in the light sensitivity, the visual noise, and the dry eyes. The outcome was the patient was using amber lenses, Plano, under her glasses with her normal prescription to help with the light sensitivity. She also did the gray-green ones used during a migraine, and she reported that within 45 minutes of wearing the lenses, her migraine resolved itself without taking any kind of medication or caffeine, and she was able to move along for the rest of her day. So she was able to attend the hockey game that evening without any issues, and she was really happy with the lenses. Also, because of the dry eyes, she was able to wear them about up to 11 hours that day.
I was going to ask that, because we often get asked about our material, and I'm a dry eye patient myself, and though I can only get maybe 4 to 6 hours out of my clear contacts, I don't understand it. I could wear these for a full 8 to, and I'm an ortho K wearer. So when I had a migraine, I was wearing my ortho K at night, giving myself a little bit of break in the morning, then putting these on up until I went to bed almost. And I was able to do that for 5 days, even, like I said, having a history of chronic dry eyes myself. So you say that this patient had no complaints about the comfort, and they were able to get full wear.
Easy to insert, easy to remove, and throw them away and start with a new pair. So our next case.
Well, and this one, let me just read this quote, because these are so great to hear straight from the patient. So this patient said, "The lenses helped settle my migraines down without having to take my meds and allowed me to function as needed," which is, again, as a migraine sufferer myself, that's all you want. You don't want to have to just go in a dark room until it resolves itself. And a lot of us don't have that opportunity. I brought up on a few other webinars that I'm a toddler mom and just tired and bedraggled half the time. And so I don't have the luxury of taking a couple of days in bed. So this was crucial for me. So here is some questionnaires. This was the major collection piece. We really wanted to hear from the patient. And a lot of I really have you to thank for this. You had them fill out both the migraine and the light sensitivity on most of these. But we see here that the the light sensitivity was between 7 and 10 out of 10, and then even higher, of course, during migraine, which we would expect. And that was reduced, the general light sensitivity was reduced, down from a 7 to a 10 down to like a 1 to a 6, but it really makes the biggest impact during that migraine. And you can see the results here down to a 1 or 2. And these questions are, it says, please rate the following statements on a scale of 1 to 10 during a migraine attack. So pretty exceptional. And again, 45-minute resolution without having to take medication is huge.
Okay, moving on to case study 2. Our next patient was a 43-year-old female from Pineville, Louisiana. So like I said, again, we do have patients that are coming in from all over the country and world. Her diagnosis was post-concussional syndrome in esophoria. And as it shows here, this was her refraction here for her glasses. And her symptoms included dizziness, headaches, light sensitivity, and balance issues. And so we provided her the gray-green ALTIUS lenses under her therapeutic glasses. And she said immediately she started seeing some improving comfort during her car travel, because her and her husband were having to come each way 4 hours. So she was able to handle the car ride on the way home.
And so previously to the ALTIUS, was she not able to?
She was not. She would keep her head down. She'd have dark shades on.
Oh my gosh.
She would have to carry her little bag in case she felt nauseous or anything like that. But she called me when she got home and said, hey, I made it all the way home without having to do all those things.
Oh my, so just instantly she was able to drive home in the front seat without issue. Wow.
And so after I spoke to her a month later, we saw her back in the office for a follow-up. She reported significant improvements in her light sensitivity and tolerance to outdoor activities, and the overhead lighting in the stores. And so her husband, who always came with her, he's like, she's almost like a new woman, because she was able to go to his family functions outside and not sit at home. And that's what we want to do with our patients, to get them functional where they're comfortable.
Yeah.
But she continues to wear the plano lenses under her therapeutic glasses that we prescribed her, resulting in her severity of her headaches, the light sensitivity, and also her dizziness.
So amazing. And this patient said, I've noticed ALTIUS help with light sensitivity, so I can do things sometimes for longer and things I couldn't enjoy doing on bright days. It helps to improve my quality of life and to be able to do these things without having to avoid or close my eyes. So basically, it just allowed her to go back to her normal life, which, as we know, as we're healing and recovering, so much of that recovery just increases as we are able to fellowship and be around our families and doing those normal things. And another thing to know here, so 70% of our lenses sold are plano, and that tracks with the athletes. There is a lot of emmetropes, and they often will have under, a -50 prescription, again, with that masking, but that number has increased significantly from when it was primarily being used for performance. It was in like the 60s up to over 70%. And that is the TBI patient. So a lot of them are wearing these under their therapeutic lenses so that they can have those imbalances and visual tracking issues taken care of. And they seem to be having really good results, instead of having a big nasty fit over on top that's subpar at best. So here's her questionnaires again, at the top of the chart when it comes to light sensitivity. And this is just the straight before and after. So you can see the before, she's almost 10s across the board. And then after, that's reduced to 5 to 7. Okay,
our next case study, number 3. This is a 37-year-old female from Keller, and her diagnosis, visual snow syndrome, migraines, and anxiety. So her prescriptions here for her glasses, and she has constant monochromatic visual disturbances since the age of 36. And even with her eyes closed, she's got dizziness, headaches, light sensitivity, and balance issues. And so for her, we dispense the amber and the green-gray lenses, -350 OU for both eyes, and additional plano lenses to use under her prescription glasses for astigmatism. So 1 month later, she did report that the ALTIUS gray-green significantly reduced her visual snow symptoms and her migraines and her light sensitivity. But she now uses the plano lenses under her glasses as needed for migraines, and also finding them more effective than her powered lenses. And so we're going to add a little side note to this patient. If you want to take over on this one.
So I had the privilege to come to her exams, both her initial exam and her follow-up, and she is a weaning breastfeeding mama. So a lot of migraines happen during pregnancy. I know I pretty much had a migraine for my entire first trimester myself, and medication is unavailable to you. So I was thrilled when I found out that we had given her an option, a non-pharmaceutical option to help manage her headaches and all of the issues that she was having as she was weaning and having all these hormonal changes in her body. So that was really exciting, and just is such a great solution for people that may already be on a lot of medications and don't want to introduce something else, or just don't have it as an option. So she, and that'll kind of make it more sense with her, her testimonial. I don't wear them, I don't wear them daily now, only as needed, mostly for headaches or migraine attacks. I feel a sense of comfort if I should get a headache or migraine that I have an effective non-medication means to bring relief, usually weekly, 1 to 3 days a week. And again, that, how she said it perfectly. I feel a sense of comfort, and that is exactly, I felt a very strong sense of discomfort when I was pregnant and breastfeeding, and knew if I got a headache, I could do absolutely nothing about it. So yeah. I can definitely attest to that.
She was very happy.
And she also said during her follow-up that the visuals, like if she wore it for a full 8-hour day at work, she could remove it at night, and the visual symptoms, snow symptoms, didn't come back until the next morning. So she was able to get release from that monochromatic, even with her eyes closed, through being able to sleep, to be able to be with her family without the lenses on. And then by the morning, some of the symptoms had come back.
And being productive at work and being a mom.
Right. So here are her testimonials. We have the light sensitivity and migraine befores here. And then we have the after here. And she did write some notes. You know, we have all of these available as well. We're in the process of putting out a paper on it in addition, but in general, this really made a difference for her. And yep. And then we'll go to the, this is both after. Before and after. Sorry, I got a little bit lost track.
That's
okay. Now on to number 4.
So this is probably one of my favorite cases. Well, they're all my favorites. Great patients. So he came down from Chesterville, Maine. He was a visual snow patient that was referred from Visual Snow Initiative. So his diagnosis, he's an Army vet, but he's also visual snow syndrome, TBI, post-concussional syndrome, and PTSD. He's Plano with a 1 1/4 ad. So he first noticed his pixelations at the age of 24 while serving in Baghdad during a bomb explosion. So he has gone this long without any kind of explanation of what is going on inside his brain and his eyes. And then he found Visual Snow Initiative and then us. But he has a lot of pain and pressure in his head, and now reporting minimal migraines, photophobia, depth perception, and balance issues. Plus he's got some double vision and blurriness at distance. So he was down in our office over the summer for about 8 weeks. We did some therapy with him, and then we introduced him to the lenses, and almost immediately he had some relief. So I initially gave him the amber lenses, but he preferred the gray-green lenses after trying both. And after undergoing 18 sessions of neuro rehab, he was able to be more functional toward the end. So when I see the patients in the beginning, they're just kind of a hot mess. Their anxiety is really high. Their stress is just everything. And then once we start doing the neuro rehab and then doing the lenses, it's a calming effect.
Yeah.
And it's like, keep going. But he reports the gray-green lenses calm visual symptoms and can be worn all day, except during vision therapy, which is normal because we're doing red-blue activities and some symptomics with them. But also we recommended using 1 1/4 over-the-counter readers for his near work. But he was also an athletic trainer, so he was outside a lot. And so he would go out for walks in the evening, wear the green-gray lenses, and would just have instant relief.
The gray-green.
Gray-green, yes.
Yeah, so he said, I put the gray-green lenses, and immediately I felt so much better because visual snow deals with light sensitivity. Light translates to pain for me, which I relate to that. When I put those lenses on, it really helps me take that light and filter it in a way that calms things. And I would say the gray-green, to me, I describe it as a weighted blanket. It definitely has a calming effect. Physically, it just feels, if you have sensory issues, you don't, like, again, light hurts. sound hurts, things that most people are just canceling out, are physical assault to the senses. So it really just calms all those things down. And by removing some of the visual challenges that our brain is processing in the background, I think of it as if you have a bunch of windows open on your computer, and then all of a sudden your general function starts to slow down and the performance of the computer slows down because you just have too many windows open. So by closing some of those windows, we're able to focus some of that RAM towards healing, towards functioning, towards doing everyday things. So that's been my personal experience, and from what I'm hearing back from patients, it's the same.
It is.
And here's his before and his before and after.
So this is going to bring to our last case study, number 5. So as again, we do treat young adults in our office. So this is our 14-year-old female from Seagoville, Texas, and her diagnosis is TBI, PCS, and also convergence insufficiency, migraine, and light sensitivity. So she has a -4 OU. Her symptoms, she kind of describes as static or snowy white spots in her vision, but she was kind of on the border of being visual snow, but also CI. So she was more worse at night, and it was constant even with her eyes closed. She had a lot of light sensitivity that she would come to the office with her head down, her, dark glasses on, and we'd have to keep the, lights kind of dim. And then she would have migraines with auras and eye fatigue. So with this patient, I dispensed her the amber and the gray-green contact lenses, -4 OU. And at her follow-up a week later, she reported different benefits from each. So as I mentioned before, that we do have a couple of patients that we're giving amber and the gray-green gradient or the lenses. So she's using the amber ones more for indoor work, schoolwork, and then the gray-green ones for outside when they're doing activities or sports and things like that. So she still needs a little improvements on her depth perception, and her migraine symptoms have been reduced. And so mom has actually purchased her, every month a 30-day pack of each color to use as needed and whatever she feels more comfortable in. So she has been a really good, success rate. And then we have another patient from the Bryan College Station area, 18 years old, and she's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's when my migraine started, probably around 14 years old. And it's like, you're not trying to, I mean, she has a lot of things that she's dealing with, but I've heard visual snow described as kind of tinnitus for your eyes. Right. And would you say that that's an accurate description? Okay. And is it, now I've also heard, do these patients often have tendonitis as well?
They do.
Auditory?
And it's a lot of neuroinflammation.
Okay.
Autoimmune issues going on.
Okay.
So as again, we're learning more and more about visual snow every day.
Yeah.
And also it's always evolving with TBIs, concussions, and I love having these patients come in because we're learning so much from them, but also helping them on the other end. So it's been great. Yeah.
It's huge. So she said, didn't see visual snow as much during daylight hours. Migraines have slightly improved, light sensitivity for a few hours, and 1 week of use, and with 1 week of use goes back to normal. So that is just really, again, with these, especially just someone that's 14 dealing with all that, just being able to go to class
and with her friends,
be with her
family,
friends,
and everything.
Not even, and then we have after and all that improvement. So what would you say the key benefits of ALTIUS for your patients are?
So everything is calming the visual system down. That's our #1 goal, but also helping reduce that light sensitivity in the front of the computer, overhead lighting at a workstation, in your home or office. But also there's no peripheral light leakage. So you've got complete coverage, where most glasses, you're going to have some of that light coming in.
Yeah.
But also managing migraine symptoms, improved visual comfort for VSS patients. Also helping, enhance outdoor activities for our sports patients, because, most people that are playing sports have some form of concussion.
Right.
So it's also using it in different light situations, but also using it complementary to our vision therapy program.
Great.
It's been a big bonus.
So it's just seamlessly kind of integrated. That's really exciting. I know I've said that a lot, but I'm obviously, these patients are just suffering. They really are suffering, and it seems like a lot of times by the time they find you, it's like their last ditch effort.
It is
to try to find
I hear it all the time. And, they first start with a PCP, or their routine eye doctor, or the routine eye doctor will send them to a neurologist, or they'll send them, to, a big hospital to do additional testing. And then by then it's almost a year past, and we're at our wits end, and they're like, where have you been all this time? And we're like, right here. So it's always either a word of mouth or another referral. So we're always happy to help. We're always there.
Well, and the webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago, which we'll be releasing a recording shortly, Dr. Shalowski really goes into it's a master class on neurooptometry and everything that they're doing, down to nutrition and reducing inflammation and everything in between. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. I mean, the nice thing about for migraine sufferers specifically, I would say, outside of the more complex cases, you don't really need any special equipment.
You don't.
You just need to provide them relief.
Right. And it's like we call it in our office, the tools in our toolbox.
Right.
And we have a ton of tools.
Yeah.
And we try everything we can to help our patients. We won't give up on them.
That's awesome. So I'm just so grateful for this office in general. I'm based in Dallas, and they're 20 minutes away. They've been central in a lot of the studies that we're doing. We're excited to continue study on these visual snow patients, but also, really vet out the performance element. I know you guys work with a lot of different teams throughout the DFW area. So we're really hoping to have more to share on our next session, or
yes, absolutely,
about the performance side, as well as you can see here. They're going to be, and we as well, ALTIUS will also be at the Neuro conference and at ISPA with you guys.
Yeah, Dr. S will be at the Neuro. I'll be there as well.
Yep.
You can find all of us there basically. And then the Neuro conference is next month, September 19th through the 22nd. And then ISPA, the International Sports Vision Association, will be in Bentonville, Arkansas, January 23rd and 25th.
Yeah, that's going to be a really fun event. So a little bit about pricing. We are only distributed through ABB. So if you have an ABB account already, you can order immediately. Otherwise, we don't do anything direct. So you would be opening an account with them to be able to order from us. We offer our basic performance center just to give you a boost of product to start. That's going to get you 24 retail 10 packs as well as 90 free demo lenses. I typically recommend demoing in Plano because of that masking effect, and because we don't offer unlimited free trials. So you're able to open a Plano box and you're able to refract over those patients and then order them in their power. Some doctors are just including a starter kit. You guys do a 30-day supply. I've heard people just supplying the first 5 to 10 days included in the exam fee. And then of course, every 90 packs sold, you earn a free 10 pack. So we want to make sure that you still have lenses to demo, but we are a smaller company, and we just really want to make sure that we have enough inventory for your patients. So this is my Calendly link. You're welcome to click on it, and you can schedule an appointment with me directly. My email, my phone number. And if you have any questions, we will now open up the floor for questions. Let's see here. There it is. So we don't have any questions now. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in now in the Q&A portion at the bottom. We've run over time on all of our webinars because of the questions that have come in. So I left a little extra time, but I'm sure you guys won't mind getting out early and going about your day if you don't have any questions. All right, I guess we were really thorough.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you have our emails available for Dr. Shavosky, myself, and Rachel. Just reach out to any of us.
Oh, we got one. Okay. All right, so we have, are they manufactured in the US? So they are only distributed in the US, but our manufacturer is, I think it's in Taiwan.
Yeah, you told me Taiwan.
Yeah, so it's not in the US, but we are only distributed in the US right now. So we're not available in Canada or any other country at this time besides Puerto Rico as part of the US territory. Oops, wait, I have to, oops, answer live. Okay, and then we have, is ALTIUS planning on being available in Canada? Yes, we would love to be available everywhere, and we are just kind of slowly chipping away at all the paperwork involved in that, but we definitely hope to expand our reach as soon as possible. And then, do you ever, sorry, do you ever,
is there a way you can retype that in for us, Carrie?
Yeah, I don't understand this question. I think I'm thinking it's asking if you can wear polarized lenses on top, I think is what, and if I'm misunderstanding, then please let me know. But I do actually wear my sunglasses on
Same
top.
here.
Yeah, so again, we're in Dallas. It's been over 100 for a month now. There is so much glare. So I've actually worn my ALTIUS a couple of days here when it was just so bright and so hot. And I definitely wore my prescription sunglasses on top. So there's no issue there. And
no distortion.
No distortion. There is, again, faster pupillary response and to varying light conditions. So I also get asked is it when you go indoors in the gray green, do you have difficulty seeing? Of course, if you walk into like a pitch dark bathroom or something without any windows and the lights off, it's going to be difficult to see. But in general, in normal lighting situations, I don't even notice that I have them on after the first 20 minutes. So you're able to function anywhere. So it is what is the material made of? And it's the Ocusilicon D. It's a 19.6 DK. It's going to be in the same family of materials as the MiSight lens. So it is a little bit more stable. It's very easy to handle. So with that 70% being plano, a lot of them have never worn contacts before as well. So I would say
it's easy to INRs.
It's very easy for application and removal because of the sturdy material, but also because of the tint. You can actually see it when you're taking it in and out. And again, the comfort I've been just blown away with. Just again, myself wearing them, and then what we're hearing back from patients. And again, a lot of these people have a lot of different things going on. So dry eyes is not uncommon, and it's working well for them. So, I meant, so.
Yeah, we already answered Carrie.
Okay. Yeah. Polarized targets. So, sorry, I meant do vet, so polarized targets while wearing the lens. If you're talking about like, for instance, a pilot no, they're not polarized. They're not going to have the same distortion that a polarized lens would if you're looking at a polarized screen. So it definitely, you have to wear them to really understand that full immersion that you're getting. You get the enhanced clarity and contrast that you get out of a polarized lens without the distortion. And I'm a big Maui gym wearer, so I've always worn the Maui Rose. It's kind of my lens of choice for a sunglass. And I do have some darker lenses as well. But I'm very picky coming as an optician, and I find my vision is much better in my ALTIUS lenses than a polarized lens. And then I don't have to worry about looking at screens or those weird reflection on cars. Anybody occupationally would be able to wear these. So that's a really good question. So we don't have any rebates at this time. We have those free lenses with purchase. So, if you get that basic performance center for $3.99, you are getting a discount on the product, but we also throw in those extra 90 free demos. And however you choose to use that, you can pick the power, you can pick the color you want. You can use them by dispensing them to patients, or you can keep them. And then of course, every 90 pack sold, you're earning a free 10 pack. And the hope is that you'd be able to replace that demo in the set as the patient buys a supply.
Can I answer this one?
Yeah.
So we have our next question here. How have practices been implementing the lenses in their practice? So feedback on adding these contacts in the general practice. So for us, when Rachel approached us, the main thing, as we know, as ODs, is case history. Also, training your staff. You have a patient, complaining of migraines or like visual snow, we'll get to that, but also they've had a concussion recently or a TBI. So case history is always important. And then from there, it'll lead you into, okay, are they a good candidate for contact lenses? And then from there, Rachel can reach out, or you can reach out to Rachel, and she can get you in contact at coming out and doing training with your office staff and showing you the lenses, having the lenses available, letting your staff touch them, or even letting the staff wear a couple pairs. Because the more you know, the more knowledge and information on these lenses, that's how we started. It makes it easier for us to work with the patient.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm coming from myopia management, and the biggest thing is everyone in the office needs to know what you're doing, because we're getting a massive uptick of patient interest. So a lot of our marketing efforts have been on social media through advocates. We had Maggie Steffens, the captain of the U.S. water polo team, wearing our lenses. The entire team was wearing them during the Olympics. So she was posting during the Olympics. We're really blowing up in water polo and surfing. Migraine, the entrance is really increasing, and we're having patients call offices who carry ALTIUS and getting turned down because the front desk person doesn't know that they carry ALTIUS. So I feel like everyone in your office has a general understanding of what you guys are offering,
right?
If patients are calling. But a lot of, most of the intake forms, even if I'm just going to my PCP, will have a question on migraines or have a question on light sensitivity. So one thing I've been suggesting to just general offices to try to find some of these patients is, if you have just a single question, do you suffer from migraines? Do you suffer from light sensitivity? If they check that box, you already know that you can have a discussion with them about this. And this is a second pair sale. This is not your everyday lens. It's, even if you're having a pretty intense condition, you might wear them for a period of time. But even these patients that they were treating said after a month, they were able to just wear them as needed.
And also in our office, in the front reception area, we have the little QR codes from ALTIUS. So as parents and patients are waiting, they can do their own little research.
Yeah.
While they're waiting to get back. And then some of those questions that are on ALTIUS will trigger, oh yeah, I did have a really bad headache a couple weeks ago or last month, or, that does make sense. So you could talk, have them talk to the eye doctor or the tech.
Well, and similarly, this is a referral product. So it is visual. You can see, particularly if you're wearing the red tint, you can definitely see the eye is red if you have a lighter pigmented eyes, or just a fringe of red around. The gray-green blocks out the color of your eye, so it just looks like you kind of have a darker, larger eye. So if you fit one person with migraines, they're going to talk about it. If you fit one person on the soccer team at the local high school, they're going to talk about it. So the more you fit this product, whether you're fitting it for performance, and when it comes to performance, even if you're not going to make yourself a specialized product or practice, you have so many high school and young students who are playing sports or playing for college, or just even weekend enthusiasts who don't always want to have a sunglass. There's so many situations where your peripheral vision or your field of vision is hindered. They might be fogging, slipping down, getting wet, because it's a daily disposable. I know there's a lot of conversation. We do have a paper about ALTIUS and water sports as well, so I can send you that as well. But as long as patients are being educated and being compliant, they're probably not going to wear it much after they get out of the water, again, because of that darker tint. So it's very uncommon that anyone would abuse or overwear this product. And it's very common to just wear it for an activity or a certain situation and then to remove it and throw it away. So, just remember, 1 in 7 people are suffering from migraines, and they're just not really talking about it because they're not expecting to find answers at their general optometrist, but we do have answers for them, hugely, that are non-pharmaceutical. So I'm just really excited to get the word out and have more common practice around helping these patients. So can you tell in office that the effects is helpful before sending trial lenses home?
In most cases, yes. So if you're doing a new fitting, you'll have the patient kind of sit for 20 minutes in the office. And we're starting to see over time, like the patient's like, oh, I see the changes. Things are starting to reduce. And that's why we send them home with, a 10-pack and then do a 1-week follow-up and just kind of get their feedback. And then from there, we'll send them over to optical or start vision therapy with them, with their supply.
Yeah, and actually the patient that I came in the office for, she said she said that because she had gone through all the pre-testing and, has the various things, that she had this pressure in her head right above her right eye. And she put on the ALTIUS. We were just chatting with her. She went out into the lobby, went outside, came back, and within 5 minutes, she said, all that pressure just left my head. And, we have the case study here for PTSD. There was another patient in the beta test whose underlying condition was PTSD, though he was using them for light sensitivity and migraines. And he described it as all the pressure leaving the top of his head. And I also was able to go in for his exam. So I feel like for not everybody, but for most people, within 5 minutes, they will notice something. I notice an immediate effect of just feeling more relaxed. And then the headache.
Right. And then we had that one patient who it took 45 minutes.
Right.
And it just, everything kind of resolved itself without having to do medication or a chunk of caffeine or anything like that. So it varies.
5 minutes to 45 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Well, Carrie, I'm going to have to email you because I'm not sure. You're asking about coits, spiragle, etc., while wearing ALTIUS. And so that's a little bit out of my purview, but I do have some people that I can ask. So I will be emailing you the answer to that question, unless Al is on and has a panel, he can jump in for that question, but I don't think he can unmute himself. So we'll definitely email you about that. And then you're making a note. Okay, awesome. So do you have retail pricing that most practices are staying with? So I'll go back one page. Our suggested MSRP is $30 for a 10-pack. You do get a bit of a price break as you order more products, but all of our lenses do come in 10 packs, and we did that for convenience. As I said, this is a part-time use product, and so we want to make sure that these athletes can throw a 10-pack in their bag, that these patients suffering from migraines can have some in their purse or their backpack. I actually brought some to show you guys, but they're in that front pocket. But I was just going to show you that no matter how many you get, you're just going to, if you get a 90-day supply, you're going to get 9 of these. If you get a 360-day pack, you're going to get 36 of these. So they are going to come this way in these small 10 packs. And, again, we have the demo program set up, but we don't offer free trials. So just make sure your staff knows that this is not a trial lens. This is a retail pack that you will be either selling or dispensing to patients. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we can get you started with plenty of Plano product to work with these patients. But yeah, so I would say on average, $30 for a 10 pack, 90-day supply would be about $225. So we're kind of between, we're a little bit more than a standard daily disposable, but not as expensive as some of the specialty products out there. So a little bit more reasonable. I know Oasis Transitions was recently discontinued. And so, this is an option for those patients as well, to be able to replace that tinted lens for them. And we do have some added benefits with the reduction of chromatic aberration, the blue light in addition to the tint, and the UV protection. So we have our patients with migraines ordering a 90 pack versus an annual supply. And then our sports patients or purchasing an annual supply. What would your average supply be?
So because a lot of our patients either are doing a Plano lens or they have an OU prescription, they've been starting out with a 90-day because, again, they're not wearing them daily. They're wearing them as needed. So sometimes that 3-month supply will stretch out to 4 months or 6 months. But then when they come back in for their 6-month checkup or their annual checkup, we'll kind of gauge it from there and let the optical order whatever supply they need.
Yeah, I've definitely been recommending to order no less than a 90-day supply, just because it is part-time. A 90-day supply might last some patients, as you said, 6 months or a year. It might only last some patients 90 days. So I wouldn't sell less than that, but then above that 90 pack, it's really just based on their condition.
And the same thing for athletes. We don't know. I mean, it's so many variables too, because you don't know if they're playing sports, all, 360 days a year, or if it's just baseball in the springtime, or if it's basketball or whatever. So it's really a patient case by case.
Yeah.
And again, it's a part-time lens.
And it is in addition to their everyday modality, unless they're an emmetrope. But in that case, it's billable through. I mean, so we can't bill medically, but when you're billing materials benefit through, say, an IMED or VSP, you can bill for a Plano ALTIUS. So that's another advantage. Is even if you have a patient, I know when I was working as an optician in Massachusetts, they'd say, well, can I use my HSA or can I use this for a Plano sunglass? And we'd say, I'm sorry, you can't. But in this case, because it is a contact lens, it is a medical device.
Yes.
So you can bill for that Plano lens. And again, it's in addition to, so just think of it as an add-on. It's a daily disposable. There's no additional training done. So if you're already writing a clear contact lens prescription in any other brand, you can just throw in an ALTIUS prescription, and they can just get those in the quantity based on their use.